Hey, hey, Paula, I wanna marry you. Hey, hey, Paula, no one else could ever do. I've waited so long for school to be through. Paula, I can't wait no more for you. My love, my love.
Hey, Paula, I've been waiting for you. Hey, 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 Paula, I want to marry you too. If you love me true, if you love me still, our love will always be real. My love.
That song you just heard, Paul and Paula singing Hey Hey Paula from 1963. It was #1 for 3 weeks in February. Back when I was just, to be honest with you, I was 14 years old. But I love the song, I love the concept, and I love a man and a woman or a boy and a girl singing to each other. The people that sang that, Paul and Paula, are sitting next to me, and I've waited 54 years to sit next to Paul and Paula. This is Paula. This is
Hello.
it's really Jill. And that's Paul, that's really Ray. Now, I know that this Paul and Paula, it's been your stage identity for 54 years.
True.
But you're really two different people. You're human beings separate from what we've heard on the record for all this time.
We do other things besides sing.
Are you serious? I can't imagine that. Tell me, how did you get to be Paul and Paula? Where did it all begin for you?
You know, I could, you would like me to tell you the beginnings of the song?
No, tell me the beginnings of Ray Hildebrand. Tell me, where did Ray come from? Joshua, Texas, I understand?
I did. I was born at, most people in my generation were born at home, that I find out. And I was born in a little community outside of Joshua, Texas, which is even smaller, called Caddo, down in south of Fort Worth, Texas. A farming and teaching family. And they were all singers, which was a...
So you grew up in a musical household?
I did. They didn't sing other than in church and while they're picking cotton or whatever they were doing. But everybody in my family can carry a strong tune, a strong melody. So, and I was the youngest of 4 children, so.
So you really had no choice?
I had to sing.
Yeah, that's the way it sounds. Either that or play basketball, right?
That's right.
So you did both?
I did both. I did basketball out of frustration, something to do, you know. My father was not only my daddy, but he was my principal. You talk about hell.
You mean
now.
principal in school?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So you got your spanking at home, you got your spanking at school, and he wore both hats. And sometimes you get double spankings because he knew he wouldn't mess with you. He didn't want you
And
messing
you had to
around.
go to church with him on Sunday.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Jill, how about you? You didn't grow up in Joshua.
No, I grew up in Arkansas.
Arkansas, I've heard of that.
Yeah. It's a little town called KEAN, Arkansas. And my dad was a crop duster, so we moved around quite a bit. And I left Arkansas my first half of my senior high school year, and then I went to Brownwood and finished my second half of my senior year. And then I went to Howard Payne. Brownwood High School.
Okay.
Oh, good guess.
Yeah. I mean,
And I didn't sing in high school there. And I did start singing in college, though. And I met Ray. And
what college were we in?
Howard Payne University.
And that's in Brownwood.
It's in Brownwood,
It's
Texas.
in Brownwood.
So you're singing in college. Did you meet him through singing?
Yes. He had a little group singing, and I was doing solo stuff. And I was asked to do a radio show on Sunday afternoon. And so I asked Ray if he'd like to join me and sing. And he said I would, and he plays guitar, so that worked.
She smelled good and looked good, so I said, hey, well, you know.
But that doesn't, you can't spell that, right? So what difference does it make?
So anyway, it was a pretty good hit, and our opening song was
Oh, we ain't got a barrel of money.
Yeah. So
On
anyway,
radio.
Yeah, Side by Side was the name
Yeah,
of that
Side by
song.
Side.
So that was a biggie back then.
So then one day, and he can tell you about Hey Paula, but one day he came in, he says, you know, I wrote this little song during summer vacation, and why don't you sing it with me? So I happened to be at the right place at the right time. Of course, he was on my radio show also.
Yeah, you were you were the right time.
Anyway, we did on the show, and the radio, the phone lights just lit up and all this stuff. So my parents took us up to Fort Worth.
The little show was on a Sunday afternoon for 15 minutes for young people, hopefully. And in a small town, it was the smallest of the two radio stations in this town.
KEAN.
And so, yeah, KEAN radio station. And so we sang the little song, and what we didn't know was that this DJ liked it, and he took it, just me and the guitar and her, and he sneakily, without asking permission or anything, started playing it with Frank Sinatra and all the other singers at the time on the radio. And then he calls us one day, and he was feeling guilty, and he said, you know that little song y'all sung on your show a couple of weeks ago? Which one? But Paul and Paula? He said, here's what I did. He confessed to what he did, and he said, and the kids are calling in wanting to hear it again. And he said, I think you got something. And that began her mother has been grooming her for singing forever, and just a sweet lady. She caused the whole thing, and so she began to look around for somebody to go show this song and us too. So, doo-doo.
Okay, so what did Mom do?
She drove us up to Fort Worth, Texas with my dad, and we recorded Hey Paula. Hey Paula was a demo, actually, and it was put out as a demo. It just hit.
Now, you went up to Fort Worth. Smokey Montgomery.
Oh, yeah. Smokey is a great guy.
Like crust doughboys.
Yeah.
Smokey.
Yeah, Smokey.
The guy that had us was kind of like Colonel Tom Parker. You know, he was the manager of Elvis Presley, and our guy was named Major Bill Smith.
But Major Bill Smith was really a major, and Colonel Tom Parker wasn't.
Was not. Yeah.
Okay, so you got the real thing.
We had a real thing. He didn't know that much about music,
Yeah.
but he loved music business, and he loved singing. I guess he knew more about it than I thought. But when we walked into the studio and waited for him to see him, we didn't have an appointment or nothing. Mama just found out about, she really found out about Smokey, this other guy that worked with him in the studio with the guitar. And so we sat there and wait, and as God would have it, we drove to, they came and took me away from my little apartment thing, and we
You
drove.
were renting a room from what?
From
uncle?
her aunt.
From my aunt.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was a good piano teacher and everything. So we drove up there without an appointment or anything. And Mama, just Mama, you know, she wanted the best for her and me. And so we sat there. We really sat there for about 6 hours, from about 10 o'clock in the morning until about 6 in the evening.
Weren't you ready to go home? I mean, come on, this isn't going to work.
I was going to go hang out with the guys, something important.
Yeah, come on. We
You
got
know,
things to do.
We got things to do. So here comes the people, these recorders, into the studio. That we were sitting in a lounge much like this. A guy that was supposed to record didn't show up. Now, a rhythm and blues guy named Amos Milburn Jr. I think some of his music floats around, and he was pretty good at what he did on the organ and stuff. And the guy steps out. He was kind of loud. Major Bill Smith was kind of loud, and he steps in. He said, "Have you seen Amos? La la la. What are you? Who are you?" And Smokey, his assistant, said, because he was kind of hot and mad, angry, you know, because he was paying these people for sitting in the studio without playing because the clock was ticking, you know.
Yeah.
So he said, he stepped in and said, Bill, Major Bill, he said, these are the people I told you about from Brownwood. Yeah, I don't want to see anybody. I want to see Amos. And he said, well, what do you got? And he was frustrated because he was losing money with the clock. And I asked the guy, Smokey pitched me his guitar. Hey, Paula, we started playing some of it. He said, let's do it right now. We went, what? He said, let's record it right now. He said, we're going to record something today if it's the Star Spangled Banner. He said, because they're sitting there, and this guy's not going to show. And he said, and I'm spending my money. He said, so go through that door right there. We go in there, and it's monaural in those days. One track. There's not multi-tracks like there is today. So she
we have a problem. She's 5'1", I'm 6'3", and so we got this little microphone. We put our little headphones on like this, and they got, you know, those old Coke boxes that used to be sitting around with had, you know,
Yeah.
around everywhere. They grabbed 2 of those and got her up, got her up on the Coke boxes. And he said, and he took my piece of paper that had my words on it, Smokey did, and he went, he like basically tore it in half. He said, this is too long. We don't need this whole section here. He said, here's what's going to happen. You're going to start off cold. I'm going to count it off. He said, and you're going to say, hey, hey, and you're going to come in. I said, okay, I got it. And so we, with half a song, we record this thing. And I think she or I popped a couple of peas
And
too
he got
close
mad.
to the microphone and back up, you know. And so we and he's watching the clock. So we would have done it in one take if it hadn't been for me popping the peas on Paula. And so there it was. And I think they overdubbed something on it, some vibes they call it, kind of like a piano. And that's the song that went to #1 later in the.
Now, Major Bill and Smokey had success a year before that, so they knew what they were doing.
They did, well, they knew about, Smokey knew about recording. Major Bill knew you get him in there and be friends with the engineer who dials enough and hit it, you know, so.
But they had a big hit,
Yes, they did. Hey Baby.
Hey Baby.
Hey
Bruce
Baby
Chanel.
was big. It was.
Now, Bruce was from the same area, right?
He was from McKinney, Texas,
Yeah,
outside of
McKinney.
Dallas. Yeah.
So these guys, they knew what they were doing, so you listened to them.
Yeah,
And you started off and you said, hey, hey, Paula.
yes.
And from there, you heard it. And you know, hey, that's me.
I know.
What?
It was-
Okay. And all right, so we recorded a song. Okay,
recorded
we go
it.
home and that's it.
No, we left the studio. We went over to his office before we went back home, and we got us to sign contracts, and
Oh.
we were laughing about those contracts today. He was always talking about how these are normal contracts. And it was nothing. I mean, it was
So you walked in there not knowing this guy, never seeing him before,
Never seen
and
him.
all of a sudden he wants to sign you to a contract.
Contract.
After hearing, hey, Paula.
yeah. It was 5% of 90% of retail sales for both of us, 2.5 cents a piece.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to make much money out of that. But we didn't care about the money. We just liked to sing, and then see ya.
Did you feel good about the experience, about what you recorded?
Oh,
Were you
yeah.
happy
Yeah.
with the song?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was fun.
Very
It was the
much.
whole
Okay,
thing.
well, we're only 21 years old, okay? So
Yeah.
it's fun, okay?
Yes.
We go back home and that's the end of it. Maybe something happens, maybe not. Then what do you do?
We go back to school,
You go
getting
back and play-
back to our lives.
Now you, from your yearbook, The Lasso, you had been a homecoming queen?
No, but a beauty.
One of the beauties.
Yeah, they called it Beauty. I saw
Yeah.
that Beauty.
Yeah, she
Empress
was one of the
Beauty or something.
top 6 or in the whole college.
Yeah, I saw that. Yes, that's how I recognized her today.
I have
She
to
hasn't
tell you
changed a bit.
something though. When we just went back to school, and I got a phone call, and it was Major Bill Smith, and I said hello, and he says, "Well, do you know what's happening?" And I said, "No, what's happening?" He says, "Well, you've got a #1 record," and I said, "Well, what does that mean? I have a #1 record." He says, "You've got the best record out there. You're
Rising
#1, and it's going all over the world." And so he said, "Where's Ray?" And I said, "I don't know.
Hanging with the guy.
I'm just doing my homework." And so he said, "Well, you go find him and tell him." So he was over at the library. I
Yeah.
said, "Ray, we've got a #1 record." He said, "Well, what does that mean?" And I said, "I guess it's good. I don't know."
He said, I've put it out, and it's played on a few little stations around in Fort Worth and some places, but he said, I've sold it to Phillips Mercury Records, and they want to change the name of the song. We had it out as
Jill and Ray.
Jill and Ray singing Paul and Paula. They said they want to change it for marketing purposes. They want to change the name of the song to Hey Paul, I like the song, and they want to change your name to Paul and Paula. And he said, and they said that you are to act like you are sweethearts everywhere you go.
Lucky you. You got to be sweetheart with Paula.
So
Okay.
we had to lie. We lied at interviews. Oh yeah.
But you had to for the
Well,
teen magazines.
For
I
the
mean, they were on
the coach,
on
you
the rack,
know,
and we had to
for
believe
Mercury
it.
Records, just do what they say.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I got tired of lying about it, but I got pretty creative. So that's how it began, and all that was in.
But in reality, you wrote the song for a friend's Paula.
Yeah, if you want to back up a little bit, I was fixing to go off into the world doing something, teaching school or coaching or something, and maybe get married. If I didn't know I'd broken up with this girl, Judy, and but a guy came up to me who I played basketball with, and he said, and he doesn't remember it to this day. It was very casual.
Oh, why should he?
And he said, summer's coming, and he said, and I'm going out into the Gulf Coast, and I'm going to work on a shrimp boat all summer to make some money. I'm going to be working 24/7 every day, and that's how you make money in those days, if it went on a pipeline or something.
Yeah.
And he said, and she, the girl that I'm going with, who you know, her name is Paula, and she is going to go back to Fort Worth with her friends. And he said, and you know how girls are? And I said, no, I don't know. He said, she'll date the nearest, and now I won't be in the picture anymore. And he said, but, he's always saying, but, he said, if you will write me a song, I know you write songs because I've heard some of them. He said, if you will write me a song, you know how girls are. And I said, I told you I don't know how girls are. He said, songs just kind of, oh. And he said, it will hold her. He said, it might hold her for 3 months until I can get back. But if you can write a song for me to sing to her. And I said, I'll do that. And he didn't remember it. And I was busy. I could have not even, but I was a man of integrity. And I wrote the song. I worked at it, and I was going to use it. One of the basketball players was standing there. He said, I like this thing you're writing for Russell. He said, you know what you ought to do? You ought to have the girl sing back to the guy. And this particular guy could not carry a tune in a bag. He'd stand by me in church and stuff, and it was a monotone. And I said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Get out of here. And he said, I'm just saying. He said, I think you ought to have the girl sing back to the guy, because that's. And when he left, I went, that's a pretty good idea. So I wrote it with the girls, and the rest is history.
You began singing that song, Hey, Hey, Paula. Why didn't you just say, Hey, Paula? Then when you respond, now I think this is one of the coolest things, and I get ridiculed for thinking this, but I'm going to tell you, you go, Hey, Hey, Paula, then you say it again, Hey, and then she says, Hey, Paul, then she says, Hey, 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 Paul. And even to this day, I can't believe she fits in three Heys completely without taking a breath, without sounding winded, but she does it, and I wait for her to stumble every time I hear the record, but she's always successful. What made you say hey 3 times?
Because there was enough.
Meter.
Yeah, the meter.
But,
Enough music
did you
to do
plan
it.
it out ahead of time?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay, so you just felt it.
Well, Hey Paul, there was too much music going on, so you had to fill it in.
You had to
So
fill in
I
the
just
blank,
made that
you
up,
know.
and I'm glad you like it.
I love it.
You're the first
Thank you.
person that's ever asked about hey, because I don't know why I did 2 Heys. I think it had to do with the meter.
Yeah, the meters,
I wanted
yeah.
to fill up some. I was going to do it cold. I did. He went, hey, I had the key in my back of my mind. Hey, and maybe it was on a piece of paper. Hey, I don't know how in the world.
That's
It
what I
worked.
Go ahead.
It worked.
You know what?
Yeah.
Obviously.
You know what
Yeah.
it might have been? It might have been from the song the year before. Hey, hey, baby, 2 Heys. Hey, how's that? That's probably the truth.
I never thought of that.
All right, see, we're working some stuff here.
But I tell you what, see, this is what I call cross-pollination. Everything in the garden of music,
Yes.
everybody draws from something before.
You
And I
never had an
thought,
original.
Hey, baby. Oh, Bruce,
Hey,
I interviewed
hey,
Bruce, and now I got to get back with him
Yeah.
and tell him how he
Well, if it wasn't for him and that song, we would have never had Hey Paula. Never. Because Major Bill wouldn't have been around and all these other...
He might have closed up shop and gone back to meat, selling meat packing and stuff. And,
Every time I see Bruce, I kiss him on the head.
But then when she said, the first time she says, Hey, Paul, then she says, in the same time, Hey, Paul, but she does it, and I've heard other people try to do it, and they can't fit it in
Way to go.
completely the way this
That funny?
20-year-old, 21-year-old girl did it. And like I said, every time I hear that song, I wait for her to not be able to do it. But she does
It's a
it.
record.
Oh, now you tell me. Well, why didn't somebody tell me that earlier? Okay, so now that you're selling this record and you sell 1 million copies.
You mean Mercury's selling it?
Yeah,
We ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, all right.
Mercury's selling it.
but they're selling it because of the hay and the hay and the
Kids
hay.
like
okay?
it. Yeah.
Loved it. Okay?
loved
In
it.
my little world, that was a big thing. So in junior high school, we're walking around singing this song, not knowing what it really means. He's saying, I'm going to marry you. Come on, we're 14-year-old kids. What do we know about that? But we're thinking that here are two people growing up, and they're going to get married.
I've been told a bunch of times, and I don't know that I knew all the music that was in the marketplace at that time, but I've been told that, you know, you were one of the first groups that a boy and a girl were actually, over the airways, saying your love to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the people, like you were listening in to a window of people talking,
Yeah.
you go, ooh, you know.
We're eavesdropping on a
And that's
conversation.
exactly what it turned out to be. Oh, Winston, that guy was pretty cool. He thought that was, he liked that. You know, just listening to me write it, you know, he wanted the girl to sing back.
So you record this in October. It becomes a big hit starting in January. As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, January 18th, 1963, you're on American Bandstand the first time.
That's probably
Okay.
right.
Dick Clark. Now, when you hit Dick Clark, you've hit the world, okay? I mean, everybody knows
That's
who
true.
you are, and we rushed home from school to see
That's her.
who's on American
I never
Bandstand.
watched him much, but she did.
Well, my father came in and said, turn that off. Get outside. Do something." Okay? Turn
My
that
daddy
stuff
too.
off. Yeah. But you're on American Bandstand for the first of two times. The next month, you find yourself in Europe. You're in England.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on the BBC. You're on a radio show giving an interview. What happened there?
Well,
They picked us up at the airport in Winston Churchill's Rolls Royce. I remember that.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You sat in Winston Churchill's car.
Uh-huh.
see, she remembers things that I don't remember.
And there were so many people at the airport. I mean, we were just still in college.
Had the big
you
signs,
know, we really
"Welcome,
didn't
Paul and Paula,
understand
welcome to-"
yeah, what was going on. And there were so many people there. They had police and everything. It was amazing. I mean, it truly was. They had us get off the plane last, and we were just stunned.
So you go
Just
on this
shocked.
radio
But
show.
yeah, we head for the first gig. We had a bunch of gigs over there in different towns and everything else. But yeah, I said, we're going to be at a place tonight where kings have gone to this old theater, much like this theater here. And he said, so there's a BBC show right here, and if we can get them to advertise, maybe get the crowd bigger tonight. So we're going to pull in here. This was about 10 o'clock in the morning, probably, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we whooped in there, and there was no cell phones in those days, none of that kind of stuff. And so we understood what the deal was. Maybe we'd get a chance to be on a radio TV combination. BBC Pop-In was the name of the show. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were walking toward the deal, he said, this guy runs out and says, "This Paul and Paula." This was Britain, right? We said, "Yes," and he went, "Yes," and he runs back in the door. And so we walk in there wondering what the deal is. And so as we walk in, we hear him talking to this group of guys from Liverpool. And he says, "Beatles!" He says, "Come over here." He said, "You'll not be on the show today." Like they were regulars on this show. He said, "You'll not be on the show today. We've got Paul and Paula here from the States." And they said, "Quite all right. Might we have a photo?" And he said, "I don't know. Ask them." He said, "Come, Paul and Paula over here." And so we bumped the Beatles off of this show, off of this radio show, whatever it was, TV radio
Did
show.
you recognize name Beatles?
Oh no, I looked over here and I said, and she was in awe of the whole thing. Anyway, I said, "Did you hear the name of that group that we're bumping here?" And she went, "No." I said, "The Beatles."
Oh my God.
I said, "Can you imagine working your tail off, getting you a group, and you're starting to kind of be known a little bit on radio and everything else?" He said, "We've got to come up with a name." "I know. Let's call ourselves the Beatles." I said, No. I mean, sure, Buddy Holly and the Crickets were one thing, but that's the Beatles. But we thought all that was funny, but we did our little song, but we did meet the Beatles.
So it sounded to me like they were almost an irritant that day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
barging in, just opening the door and intruding. And okay, we'll take our picture with you four guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that picture, I've seen those pictures. Those are absolutely priceless.
Who knew?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who knew? As a matter of fact, the world could have ended at that point. Nobody would have cared. Nobody would have known anything about these four guys.
No.
But then things began to change. Now, when you got back to the States and you saw things change, and when you saw them come over here on Ed Sullivan, what was your attitude?
Couldn't believe it.
I bragged more about them than I did about us. I said,
Yeah.
Were you watching
I
Ed
know
Sullivan?
those guys.
Were
Yeah.
you watching the Ed Sullivan
Sure.
show?
Yes.
Everybody
Oh, yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And you were absolutely as amazed as we were.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so after you ride the crest of this song, you had other songs.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah, we weren't a one-hit wonder. We had 5 songs in the top 100, you know.
you guys recorded a lot of songs.
You remember in the story, you remember when Smokey, you seem like you kind of remember Smokey when he went, shh, he ripped out half of my song? Well, her mama and I in the car going to the airport on one of the many promotion trips, she says, you know, I always liked that little chorus thing that Smokey tore out of that song. And I said, I did too. Good luck to Paul and Paula. We're going to sing a little bit of it, you know, today. And so we sat there and wrote some verses to it. It went to number 6 in the nation, not number 34.
And
but
what was the name of the song?
Young Lovers.
Young Lovers.
It was our follow-up. So we were not one-hit wonders. We had some, and we had First Quarrel, and we had these other two. So.
And as a matter of fact, you recorded a lot of songs. And when I say a lot, I'm talking to Connie Francis. You did a Connie Francis song,
Yes,
My
we did.
Happiness.
The people who wrote that song were from my town, Kansas City.
Oh, I was going to say Joshua. couldn't be. You meant Kansas City.
Yeah.
So you live in Kansas City today.
I do.
And where do you live today?
Los Angeles.
I've heard of that too.
Really?
Los Angeles, California.
I'll be darned.
Oh my God, it's a smaller world than you think.
Yeah, that's right.
Now I remember writing to you about 10 years ago saying, when are you going to be east of the Mississippi? Because when you come east of the Mississippi, I'm going to find you. And I said, I want to see Paul and Paula. So all this time I've been watching it, of course, and I know Charlie, so I get to see Charlie and I get to see his...
Thanks for your persistence.
Oh yeah, oh thank you. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm going back 54 years and we're sitting here and we're just rewinding.
Well, we went from fan. That's why she was asked to be on it, that show. But it happened so fast. I mean, we went from boom to boom without just in a dead run, It happened so quick. And some people said, well, Paul and Paula probably didn't really appreciate all that they had because it happened so quick. It was like given to them. And I went, well, that's kind of true, but it was a lot of work. It wasn't all given to us. I mean, we didn't have, and it was her mama. She's very much, she could be sitting right here right now. She's the one that went to Fort Worth. And I have a book, the Hey Paula story we do on Amazon right now, and it tells the whole thing. I mean, in absolute detail. In the last chapter, I was sitting there thinking, how am I going to close this book? I said, how many people does it take to make you famous? And I said, they just read the story. And I said, you remember so-and-so? And remember Amos that didn't show up? And you remember this? And remember Mama? She took us, and they took us without a appointment or anything, up in total faith.
Well, go back before that. Bruce Chanel. If Bruce hadn't have kept
hadn't
Major
done-
Bill successful,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have been there when you got there.
That's it.
So,
and it's on and on. There's about 20 or I don't know how many people in my list that just from that little story, but there were more, just this had to happen, this had to happen.
Harvey Fuqua of the Moonglows, and I know you did a Moonglows song, and we go together.
Yeah.
Okay. And you did Van Morrison and them. You did so many songs, so many different types of songs.
Yeah.
But Harvey Fuqua once told me, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
That's right.
You guys, the two of you, were ready.
Yes.
So you were ready when Mom and Dad said, get in the car, we're going up to WFCL.
Singing wise, we were ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had not even sung together, ever. I mean, outside that little television station. So all of a sudden we're going off to New York and Baltimore and Atlanta and all these
And
places.
London.
And Japan.
We didn't have any.
Japan?
Yeah, we didn't have any lead sheets. We didn't have nothing because we had a little radio show thanks to her, and it was just too weird for school. I mean, but we loved to sing and we loved to harmonize, both of us. If one of us take the melody, the other one hit it, and so we acted like we knew what we were doing. We didn't have a clue.
But 55 years after you recorded that song,
Yeah.
you're still singing it. and you're going to be on stage in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Are you going to sing Hey Paula?
What do you think?
Well, I came here for that reason. If you don't, I'm going to get up on stage and sing it with you, like
Okay.
you did with Dick
So
Clark.
Yeah.
like you took off and made Dick Clark fill in for you on that tour.
Yeah, I wish I'd have done that differently.
Yeah, well, we all go back and wish we had an eraser on the pencil of life, but we don't. So you
Side by side, hand in hand, you'll be wearing my wedding band. We go together like two straws in a Coke.
Why not come over and meet my folks?
Let's go.
So you're going to sing that tonight. You're going to sing a couple of songs. One of my favorite of all time, Elvis's. Of course,
Oh,
of course
yeah.
it is.
Yeah, that was your mother's favorite song.
Yeah, it's one of the
We
greatest
always do that.
of all time.
And it takes two, because we're two, it fits with our little thing.
You listen for that hey, hey, hey.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to get
Make
all
sure
three
I
in?
don't mess it up.
She'll do that for you, Tom.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. All right, let's get ready then. Let's get ready to see you on stage.
Okay.
Sounds
Looking
good.
forward to it.
Hey, hey, Paula. Hey, hey, Paula. No one else could ever do. I have waited so long for school to be through. Hey, Paula, I can't wait no more for you. And she said,
Hey, Paul, I've been waiting for you. Hey, hey, Paul, I wanna marry you too. If you love me true, you love me still. Our love will always be real. My
help us on the chorus,
true love means wedding a life
for two, being together the whole day through. True love means waiting and hoping that soon wishes we've made will come true. Hey, hey, Paula, I'm still